A Land Act in 1894 created a reservoir for area farmlands. Over time, the lake also created a great spot for recreation, gathering, and fun, and eventually became a state park in Montana. Let's explore Lake Elmo. I'm excited to welcome Emily Tyler, who is the Lake Elmo District Manager for Parks and Outdoor Recreation of Region 5 for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, to today's episode. Prior to Lake Elmo, Emily was a park ranger at Chief Plentycoo. Emily, welcome to the Parks Podcast.
Thank you. It's a joy.
I am thrilled to talk to you about Lake Elmo. It's the first state park that we're going to talk about, and I think it's really important for everyone to realize that when you're thinking about parks, it's not just the biggies that get, coverage on the news. There's parks close to everyone's home in this country. We're very lucky for that. So I'm excited to get into it with you, and I'm going to kick it off with going through some park stats. Lake Elmo is located in Billings, Montana. It was established as a state park in 1983, but was a park long before that, and we'll get into that in the conversation. It's 123 acres. The elevation is 3,199 feet. It's got a reservoir that covers 64 acres and is 140 feet deep. There's 1.4 miles of hiking trails, and my four-legged friend loves that it has 200 square feet of dog park with its own water entrance. And while you're at the park, you can swim and hike and paddleboard and use other water fun. You can picnic and bike and play on playgrounds. And it's an amazing spot in Billings, Montana.
Yeah, it's one of the best urban parks we have in the state, but also just in Billings. It's a very, very popular destination. We had about 2,000 cars every weekend day in July. So it's a very, very busy park, but it's really fun to watch the community use it. It's used every day in the summertime and most days in the wintertime as well.
When Billings is kind of a second home to me, and Montana has a dear place in my heart. I've spent quite a bit of time there, and I go to Lake Elmo when I'm out there quite a bit, and I've never been there when it's not busy. But not in like a congested way, just in a clearly well-used way. And when I first started going there, I assumed it was a city park. And I was surprised when I found out it was a state park. And I want to talk a little bit about the importance of state parks. Why is a state park a priority in Montana? And how does it serve the community? And particularly, how's Lake Elmo serve the community?
So state parks are they're part of Montana's history of conserving and protecting public lands. So it's a very deep-rooted tradition in Montana to have public lands, and state parks is part of that. So we actually have 55 state parks in Montana. We have a bunch of them, and they're all state parks for unique and different reasons. We have natural parks, we have recreation parks, we have heritage parks. And so all of them have unique reasons for being in state parks, but they're all connected to either the community that they're in or to Montana's history, and most times both. We have a lot of ghost towns, we have a smokestack, and a lot of our parks are either related to Montana as a state's history or to Native American history, both recent and going back thousands of years. So they're very unique and wonderful places to be. And their communities use them as family reunions, as birthdays, as graduation parties, just for everyday use. We have summer camping trips with kids for those that have camping. Locals love using them. And then we also have more important events like weddings and like memorial services for families. Like, people love to come to their state parks and be connected to their outdoors in their own communities.
And Lake Elmo has an interesting story behind it. It was, I would say, from the parks that I've been to, certainly a non-traditional story behind it. So can you tell us how Lake Elmo came about? Because it wasn't Lake Elmo to begin with.
Yeah, so originally Lake Elmo was a marshy wetland. So Lake Elmo didn't have a community around it at first. It was in 1904. The irrigation ditch was being constructed, and Lake Elmo was called Hauling Lake. And it was really just the lowest spot along the irrigation route that they could dig out and create this reservoir for the further irrigation in Huntley and Warden and those communities further downstream. So the BBWA Canal runs from Laurel through Billings and all the way out to Huntley and Warden. And so Lake Elmo was that reservoir. And then in the 1920s, Elmo and Miriam McCracken bought the lake and opened it 9 years later as a recreation site. And that's when it started becoming called Lake Elmo after Elmo McCracken. And so he opened it in 1929 as a recreation site. We had a boat club, we had swim clubs, we had sailing clubs, and we
All of it
also
was
had
all of it was private?
all of it was private, but
Privately
public,
run.
but members of the public could use it. The lake was just private.
Okay.
And then in 1930, so May 1930, they constructed and opened the Elmo Club. So it was a Billings hotspot from the 1930s into the 40s. They had a restaurant and a dance floor on the first floor and a second dance floor on the second level. So there was jazz music and gambling and drinking, and it was just a hotspot of culture and activity. And then in 1945, the McCrackens sold it to the Porters and the Olsons, specifically to the wives, because the men had Mr. Porter had, I think, a federal background of having bad checks. It was sold to Mrs. Porter and Mrs. Olson. And then mysteriously in 1946, the club burnt down.
Interesting. So let me stop you for a second because I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about I'm obsessed with the Elmo Club because I think it's like 1930s, like how what a like fun swinging place it would be. And I
Yeah.
read an article in the Billings Gazette, and the first sentence said Bob Porter knew how to throw a party.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it just must have been quite a spectacle of people that would come through there. And is there any part of it still visible on the current park?
No. No, we don't
Okay.
even have the foundations. It is gone. But we knew where it was, so it was over on the east side of the lake by the comfort stations at the pavilion. So it had a really nice view facing south towards the Prior Mountains and Four Dances natural area. So it was probably a really prime spot for both nature watching and dancing.
And that area, so it was all farmland at that point. There weren't like just so the listener knows, right now it's kind of in the middle of several neighborhoods. And so there's
Yeah.
homes and there's businesses not far from there. So but at that period of time it would have just been farmland.
It was just the Elmo Club out
Just
there.
the
We
Elmo
have
Club.
pictures of people swimming or boating on the lake, and it's just open land behind it. So there weren't a lot of homes up in that area. And at that point, the Heights, which is the neighborhood that Lake Elmo is in, wasn't even part of Billings. It was its own separate area, and that got incorporated into Billings in I think the 50s or the 60s, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But we still have a different water district. So there's the Billings Water District and the Billings Heights Water District.
Okay.
So it was entirely separate. There wasn't anything around Lake Elmo for a long time.
Okay. And then Mrs. Porter had quite the swinging club.
Mrs. Porter and Mrs. Olson owned the
Mrs.
club, but their husbands ran it. And interesting enough, after Lake Elmo Club burned down, the Porters opened two more clubs in the subsequent years, which also mysteriously burned down.
Interesting story.
Yeah, so I don't know entirely the background on that, but I would call it a mysterious happenstance.
I think you're right. That's fascinating. I
Yeah,
in this article I read, they said the Western Heritage Center, I guess, has some great video that someone who had attended the Elmo Club took some video. And so I think next time I'm there, I'm gonna have to swing by just to get a sense of what it was really like back in the 30s and 40s in the club.
I am gonna have to reach out to my contacts there and see if I can get that video. That's fascinating.
Yeah. I'll
Oh
share the
my
article
gosh.
with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, it was a swinging place.
And so, it was privately owned, it was open to public recreation. Then we have this Elmo Club. And then do you know what happened to it after the club burnt down and they moved? What happened to the land at that time?
So in the 40s to the 70s, it was still a party spot because they still had their water ski club. They had meets and competitions on the lake, and they had jump competitions, which
Whoa.
I cannot now imagine having multiple gas-powered boats on this lake with skiers going behind. Like, they must have had some level of coordination because the lake is 64 acres, but when you're on it, it doesn't feel that big.
No, not at all. Not at
Especially
all.
if you have swimmers on the shoreline and fishermen on the banks, like, it doesn't, to me, feel like it could have more than, like, 2 gas-powered boats on it at a time.
Right. Right. And so when did it become a state park?
In 1983.
And it
So the
was a
state
gift was it gifted to the state?
No, we bought it for $1.6 million dollars.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the evolution of it from where it was then to now, have there been big changes or is it still serving its same mission and purpose?
So we don't have the gas-powered boats anymore, which would be a huge safety concern in my mind. So we don't have the gas-powered boats, but the purpose of it being a spot for Billings people and from people from surrounding communities to come and swim is still the same. We have 2 lakes in Billings. There's Riverfront Park, which has a small lake, and Lake Elmo. And so if people want to go swim, they either have to go to Lake Elmo or Riverfront Park or to a city-owned or a private pool. And so for Montana state residents, they pay their fee when they register their vehicle, and therefore they can come to Lake Elmo for free. So,
And on a hot summer day in Montana, it feels pretty good to be on the water
oh
for
yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yeah, it's a great lake. We've recently redesigned some of the landscape around the lake to add more picnic nodes, more places for people to come, set up a little shade structure or a little barbecue and have a picnic with their kids, have a birthday party, or just have a great day on the lake. Yeah, so
And
it's still fulfilling its original purpose as a great place for people to come and have a good time.
yeah. And while it's a state park, it's surrounded by a lot of area that has a lot of rich national history.
Oh yeah.
Is Lake Elmo part of the Lewis and Clark Trail?
Not that I can find, and I don't think so. So I think Lewis and Clark, they stayed more along the river. They wouldn't have any reason to come into the Heights area unless it was to like scout, because Lake Elmo was a marsh. It wasn't a lake.
Yeah.
It was just a low spot with some water.
How far is away is the river?
Probably about 9 to 12 miles as the
Okay.
crow flies, probably.
Yeah.
It's not that far. So they might have explored the area, but it's not mentioned in the journals.
Okay. There's so much there in that area. If you're or when you plan a trip there, you have Lake Elmo, but you have, the big national parks and you have Pompey's Pillar and not far you have Theodore Roosevelt. The first time I drove out, I was listening to Undaunted Courage during the
Mhm.
trip. And so I was really I happenstance was kind of following the Lewis and Clark trail all the way there. And it's just amazing to think about the journey and what that land must have been like for them at that time.
Yeah, they would have been full of wildlife. So the Yellowstone River, the Crow name for the Yellowstone River, it's called Elk River because the Yellowstone River is an elk migration corridor historically. And so that was what they called it. It's the Elk River. And so Lewis and Clark, if they were going through, would have had this beautiful like cottonwood and willow forest and then just animals aplenty. And the nearest I can tell around Billings is where Lieutenant Pryor lost all the horses. Somewhere in the Billings Laurel area, they were trailing all the horses, and there was like 65, I think. And Lieutenant Pryor with 3 other men were trailing these horses to meet up with the main body farther down the river. They were tired of boating, they wanted to ride, so they were pack trailing these horses. And around this area, one night they're sleeping. The horses are about 300 paces, 100 feet away, and they wake up the next morning. Half of the horses are gone.
My gosh.
They're just gone. And
Oh,
so they're okay. That's really weird. They tried to follow some horse prints, but nothing. And so they pack up. They move along the next campsite. They go to sleep. Wake up the next morning. The rest of the horses are gone. and there's some moccasins hanging in the tree, like, "You're gonna need these."
Gotcha. Right, right. I mean, it's rich. It's a rich environment, that just that whole area. And I think let's get into planning a trip to Lake Elmo.
Yeah.
But I think it is one of many stops in the area. And I think it's great. So let's talk a little bit about what activities, if you're planning to come to the park, what activities are available for people there.
So people can swim, paddleboard, kayak, anything you want to do on the water that doesn't involve a gas motor. You can go fishing if you have a boat with an electric trawling motor or any other human powered boat. If you don't want to get on the water, there's volleyball net, there's playground, there's picnic areas, there's also the dog park. And we're planning to expand that dog park this spring, hopefully,
Now,
and add a place specifically for small dogs. So they have a little spot for themselves. So we're going to expand the dog park. And then there's our 1.4-mile hiking trail as well. Half of that is now paved and half of it is gravel. And for those with accessibility issues, we also have what's called an action track chair for a reservation. And so those with disability issues or accessibility issues can reserve the chair, strap in, and go all around the lake. The action track chair can go all around the lake, and
how
you can fish from it and go fishing off the jetties and everything too. Also, in the springtime, we're hoping to put in an adaptive kayak launch. And so that will have a path by the boat ramp down to this dock where people with accessibility issues can get into their kayak and explore the lake in a better way than just trying to get into it from the boat ramp itself.
how would someone go about reserving that?
And you just call the front office at the Region 5 FWP.
We'll put a link to that in the notes for the show in
Oh,
case
that would be
people
great.
wanna go.
Yeah.
Billings has, like, the most extreme weather from the summer heat to the winter. Tell me a little bit about activities that can take place. We're recording this in October, early October,
Mhm.
and you guys are on the cusp of winter there.
Yep, we just took out the swim buoys. The last nice day of September, we dragged them out of the water. So, yep, swimming is at your own risk, especially now that it's getting cold. But we still have a few folks that are swimming even in October. But in the wintertime, we have the lake freezes over and our we still have ice fishing. We're gonna make skating rinks this winter, one at the picnic nodes and one at the boat ramp. See which one is more popular. And shovel those out, make the ice a little bit smoother so we can have ice skating or pick up hockey games or whatever people want to do on the ice. And I'm going to bring my cross country skis to the office, go cross country skiing maybe once or twice a week. So that's also fun. And then there's still the regular walkers. I've got people who walk around the lake every day. It's their place to come and take their walk and meditate and get outdoors. And they take their dogs. We've got a couple of elderly dogs that are pushed in strollers, and I think it's so cute. But people come and they walk around the lake or walk their dogs around the lake in the wintertime as well.
And I think it's important for people who are new to going to parks that you can enjoy them and have fun all 4 seasons.
Oh, yeah.
It just requires preparation and understanding. Do you have any tips? I think the winter time's the most intimidating for people. Are there any personal tips you have for people on how to explore a park in the wintertime?
Plan ahead for weather. So if it's going to be snowy or icy, just make sure that you know the road or you know where you're going. I used to drive up to Chief Plentycue every day, and that's a 35-mile drive from Billings. And some people, they get there and they're like, holy cow, I did not know how far this was because it just felt like it kept going. And in the wintertime, that can seem a little bit treacherous. So just know your roads, know how far you're going, pack layers. I always like to have a middle layer so that if I'm walking really fast and get all heated up, I can take off my outer puffy layer and still have that wind protection layer. Montana's really nice in that we have a dry cold. And so even in the wintertime, even if it's like -10 degrees, if you're moving and keeping your body going and you have that wind protection layer, you're still going to be nice and warm if you keep moving. So
Right.
it's, yeah, pack layers, pack water, pack snacks.
Yeah. I think it's important to get an understanding. I talk a lot about how my first winter hike, I had everything laid out the night before, and it still took me 6 hours to get out the door because I was so nervous about trying this new thing, and did I have enough? And in fact, somebody I had so much stuff. I was just going for a day hike and somebody said, "Oh, how long are you out on the trail?" And I was, but I had everything. I just wanted to be prepared until I felt comfortable. So thank you for sharing those tips.
Yeah,
We
it's
talked
just about practice. I was the same way when I
Were
got to
you?
Montana. I was like, everything, everything in the bag. And now that I've been here for a long time, you just learn how to what you need.
Well, and the other
Um,
I think people in Montana are more apt to be outside in the winter because it's winter like half the year. Not
yeah,
really, but
pretty
it
much.
feels like it. But the other thing I find about people in Billings is that they're so helpful. So if you don't know something and you just ask someone from Montana or on a chat board from Montana, I find most people are so kind about guiding you through and they want you to enjoy Montana.
Absolutely. Yeah, Montana has a lot to offer, especially in the wintertime. I mean, we have to go outside. Otherwise, we go stir crazy in our homes. And so we get outside and we we love it when people enjoy Montana. And so being helpful and letting you know what you need and what you don't need. And you can go to any store, any restaurant in Montana, and be like, hey, like, I'm thinking about going to this area. Like, where should I go? And they'll be like, I know exactly where you should go. Like, here's a good hike. Here's a good picture spot. Here's a good lake to go fishing. They won't tell you their secret spots, but they'll tell you the good places to go.
I love it.
Everyone's got their secret little spot that they're like, this is just for me,
Yeah.
especially hunting. If you're going hunting in Montana, people are like, yeah, you can go here, this general area, but they're not going to tell you specifically where they
I
go.
love it. I love it. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about dogs in the park. It's kind of woven throughout this entire conversation.
Mhm.
Are there rules about dogs in the park?
The basics. If your dog is outside the dog park, it needs to be on leash. And you need to pick up after your dog, and it can't go on the beach area. So the beach area is reserved just for people, but it can go anywhere else in the park as long as it's on leash and you pick up after it. It's I mean basic dog etiquette
Eh,
for public places.
And I love it because you see a lot of dogs on kayaks and paddle boards in the
Oh yeah.
which is so much fun to
Yeah.
see. I
We
force my
had
dog.
a
She
class
hasn't
this
decided she likes it, but
Oh, yeah, we had an instructor come out to Lake Elmo and teach a class this summer for dogs on paddleboards and kayaks and how to get them on and off safely and how to put on their protective wear and all that.
oh gosh, is that something you do every year?
I'm gonna call her back next year for sure and
Okay.
ask if she wants to do it again.
We'll have
Because
to share that if you do it. I would like to come back out for it, but if you do it, let us know and we'll make sure we post it because that sounds like
sure.
really fun. Okay, so Lake Elmo does not have any campgrounds or camping. Where would you suggest people stay if they're coming from out of town?
So if you want to go camping, like camping close to town, we have several fishing access sites further east. There's Captain Clark, which is a free camping site. And then there's Voyager's Rest a little bit further into town in Warden, Montana. And that one does have a fee, but it's like $18 max. There's if you already have a fishing license, I think it's $12. And then I think there's another layer if you have a veteran or 65 and older. So that's just a nominal fee. And all those fees go back to us and they help us maintain the sites.
Sure.
And then closer into town, there's a KOA. There's several different camping spots you can go to. If you have an RV, the Walmart parking lot. My aunt and uncle just stayed there last night. So there's lots of parking lots you can stay in if you have an RV, or there's motels, hotels. Billings is the biggest city in Montana, 110,000 people. And so there are amenities in Montana
Yeah.
or in Billings to stay at.
I need to check out that KOA because Billings is the headquarters for KOA. And I always think that's got to be the best KOA in the country. So I'll have to check it out sometime when I'm there.
Yeah, I haven't ever been because I live here, but
Right. Right.
but I'm sure it's nice.
And I think a lot of I try to think like who would use Lake Elmo? I think probably a lot of people locally use it for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
But one thing I was thinking, it's a tough drive when you get to that part of the country. And I was thinking as I was driving I spend a lot of time between Theodore Roosevelt National Park and like the Bozeman area. And it would be a lovely pit stop for people too. It's close to the interstate. It gets you to stretch your legs or run the dog or have a picnic. And so I just think it's a spot that is so appealing, even if you're passing through town.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a great spot just to stop in for the afternoon, for the morning, for the evening, just to have a nice peaceful time. Maybe not so much in the afternoon in the summertime. It's not very peaceful then. But it is still a great spot. Get the kids out, go swimming,
Yeah.
go to the bathroom, have a picnic lunch, and have a really nice afternoon before you continue on or go to a campsite.
Yeah. I do think if you want peace, go to the far side. The benches on the far side of the park would be the
Yes.
most peaceful spot. You
Yep,
meant
the southwest side of the park, is the unpaved section, and so that's more of our wilderness section. There's, the marshy areas back there. I've seen deer, I've seen foxes. We went on a bat walk the other night, and I didn't hear anything, but it was raining, so that might have been it. So we have bats, we have, migratory birds, and we have resident ospreys, which are awesome to watch.
yeah.
Yeah, so the southwest portion of the lake is a really nice peaceful spot, no matter what time of year it is. Even if there's 2,000 cars in the parking lot, it is still a nice peaceful time back there.
It is, it is. And you talked about the fee for the park if you're a state resident. If you're not that it's free for residents, but if you're not a resident, what is the fee?
It's $8. So Montana residents pay their $8 when they register their vehicles every year. It's kind of an opt out, which I hope you opt into fee. It's only $8 and it gets you into every state park in the state all year as a resident. And if you're from out of state, it's an $8 day use fee, but that day use fee gets you into every state park in the state that day. So in Billings, we have Lake Elmo State Park. We also have Chief Plentycoo State Park, which is about 35 miles away. It's the homestead of Chief Plentycoo, who was one of the last traditional chiefs of the Crow tribe. So that is a National Historic Landmark, and it's one of our heritage sites. And it is peaceful. It is great for a picnic, great for learning about Crow history and culture, and it's just a beautiful area as well. And then a little bit farther, there's Cooney State Park, which is another really great recreation area. It's a much larger reservoir. You can use motorized boats there, and there's a really popular spot for camping. There's, I think, 3 or 4 campgrounds there with multiple campsites. There's electric for RVs, there's tent sites for if you're just tent camping, and there's walk-in and reservable sites at Cooney.
Okay.
And it's about an hour and 15 minutes from Billings. And it's also got a beautiful view of the Beartooth Mountains. It's
Okay.
gorgeous. So people go tubing there, they go jet skiing there, they go sailing there, and it's just a really fun time. It's actually the most used park in the state system.
That will go on my list for next summer for sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. And they also have a hiking trail at the North Shore Campground.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Now we wrap up every episode with a speed round of questions for you. Just answer with what comes to mind as we ask them.
Okay.
What is your earliest park memory?
So my earliest park memory is a field trip in like the 4th or 5th grade. We went to a wetland, and I think it was a state park, but it might have been a different type of park. But it was this wonderful field trip, and they taught us me all about what a wetland does for the environment and for water filtering. And like the one thing that like sticks in my head is this beautiful view over the marsh, and the interpreter telling us that a lake is defined as 8 feet deep. And so you could dig a hole that is 8 feet deep, that's like 1 square foot, 8 feet deep, fill it with water. It's a lake. I have since looked that up. And it's partially true because lakes are defined as deep enough that you can't see, the sunlight doesn't reach the bottom, so you can't see all the way down. So that's the difference between a lake and a pond. But like that field trip really was like the expansion of my mind, like, oh, like there's all types of places and like you can learn about them and you can go and find out what's special and unique about them, and these people will tell you all kinds of things. And it was just like my first park experience that really stuck with me.
And what made you love the parks?
Probably working in them. So I went to parks all the time as a kid, but you never appreciate what you have as a kid. But working in them, you can really dig deep into like what is unique about each special place. And like, so I worked at Chief Plentycoo's State Park, and seeing the impact that park has on its community really made me fall in love with parks and made me think, yes, this is a career that I want to do because it is the gathering place for anything from family reunions to campaign feeds to kids just looking to spend some time on the in the creek in the summertime. And it's just inspiring to be part of creating that space and like keeping it nice and picked up and pretty for everybody who came to visit to learn about it again.
What is your favorite thing about Lake Elmo?
So far, it's that it's never the same. So day to day, you never knew who was gonna come, you never knew what was gonna be there. So it's a truly urban park, and it's like the place to come to cool off in the summertime. So each day brings new people, new activities, and now that the weather's cooling off, like just the changing of the seasons and the change of use has just been really cool to watch and to learn about. I This is my first summer at Lake Elmo, and so I'm learning new things and just watching it change from the bustling of summer to the quietness and peacefulness of the fall. It's just been really cool.
What's your favorite thing to do at Lake Elmo?
Watch the ospreys. So we had 3 residents this summer at the lake, and just watching them hover over the lake and just, like, watch for all the fish and just diving into the water was really cool.
What park have you yet to visit but is on your bucket list and why?
So it's a national I think it's a national park, the Everglades. Haven't been yet, but I loved Steve Irwin as a kid, so I wanna go and see that and just see the diversity and ecology of the Everglades. It's just such a unique place.
What are 3 must-haves you pack for a park visit?
Snacks, layers, sometimes bug spray, sometimes sunscreen, but mostly sunscreen here in Montana, but snacks, most important.
What's your favorite campfire activity?
Singing Girl Scout camp songs and roasting marshmallows.
Tent, camper, or cabin?
Depends on the trip. If it's winter in Montana, I want a Forest Service cabin. But if it's at summertime, I am content with an air mattress in the back of my Subaru.
When you go for a hike, are you hiking with or without trekking poles?
So I've only recently began hiking with trekking poles, and so I hike with them on the way down and without them on the way up.
What's your favorite trail snack?
Gorp. So it's some trail mix with fruit and everything else in it. So it's chocolatey and fruity and salty, and it's just delightful.
Do you make your own or do you buy it?
I tend to make my own. So I go to Winco and just get a bunch of different things out of the bulk section and then mix them all together.
What is your best animal sighting?
I love any soaring bird, but especially owls because they're harder to spot.
What's your favorite sound in the park?
Bird songs, but especially bald eagle whistles because I love the fact that like no one if you don't know what a bald eagle sounds like, you are not going to think that it's a bald eagle because in movies, that screaming noise that is always put into bald eagles, that's a red-tailed hawk. It's not a bald eagle. Bald eagles do like this beautiful whistling noise, but it's not very intimidating, so they don't put it in movies.
Wow. And what's the greatest gift that the parks give to us?
I think that the greatest gifts parks give to us is the space to explore and to learn while also connecting to the outdoors.
I love it. Emily, thank you so much for being part of the Parks podcast, for sharing a little bit about Lake Elmo. I can't wait to come back. It is one of my favorite things to do when I'm in the Billings area. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
That's it for today's episode of the Parks podcast. Until next time, we'll see you in the parks. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like and share on your favorite podcast platform. Music for the Parks podcast is written, performed, and produced by Porter Hardy. For more information, please follow us on Instagram at The Parks Podcast or visit our website at theparkspodcast.com.